Yes. So how do you learn about Tuesday group programming? I would say the most effective and efficient way to know what's going on with the Tuesday group is to sign up to receive Tuesday group emails. And if you would like to just meet me when the program's over, and I'll take your contact information. Otherwise, you can go to boundarywatersconnect.com and follow, just on the homepage, just follow until you find the button to sign up to receive newsletters. And you can choose to either receive Tuesday group newsletters and or Boundary Waters Connect emails. So Tuesday group content is zeroed in on Tuesday group, and the Boundary Waters Connect content includes a little bit a broader breadth of what we're up to, which includes new resident programs and services and so on and so forth. All right, any other community announcements? Quiet group today, very eager to meet new Elyites. So let me say thank you to Ellen Brown, who has been very tireless in coordinating these many Meet New Elyites programs over the last several months.
One of the fun things about doing this is the trends you start picking up, like people moving to Ely because their kids are here, or kids moving to Ely because their parents have a place here, or people who used to be seasonal and like it so much and get tired of traveling, but they become full-time. Here comes Andrew and Sally. Andrew Slade and Sally Rochenfels. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah. Since we zoom this, Lacey will tell you when you're out of range. Okay. Sort of right around here.
Okay. We'll just have you stay behind the round tables.
Behind the round table.
Yep.
Thank you all, and thank you, Lacey, and great to see everybody. The program is New Elyites, right?
Are you tongue-tied?
I was hoping I could just sort of do this improvise. We'll see. I was thinking about that because I'm bucking up against the word new just a little bit because we've both been in and around town for a while. My career in environmental work began in Ely and will end in Ely. Yeah. So I'm anyways, with a number of interesting stops back here along the way. So again, my name is Andrew Slade. This is my wife Sally. She'll introduce yourself. I am the Great Lakes Program Director for Minnesota Environmental Partnership based in Duluth. So my work life now is about environmental policy, essentially funding Great Lakes restoration. Minnesota Environmental Partnership is a coalition of about 70 nonprofit environmental groups across Minnesota, and we help them work together on specific issues. Our coalition ends up doing a lot of work on clean water, clean energy, a lot of work on mining issues, a lot of work on Great Lakes issues as well. So it's been a really interesting, diverse thing. My career started in environmental work in summer of 1984 when I first started working for YMCA Camp Widgiewagon. I was a member of the Widgiewagon cult for about 10 years and had a hard time breaking out of it, but I'm free of it now. But even then, I knew, even though I was working in guiding trips, I knew it was it was a career move for me at least, that I was going to be working with people in the outdoors, developing appreciation for the resources that are out there. And I've just been really fortunate over the last 30 years to do that. We moved here from Duluth, where we raised our kids and lived on the shores of Lake Superior for the last 25 years. But we're back up here now in a little spot up the Echo Trail, and I'm just really glad to be back here in town and be, trying to get our fingers back in the community here as a non-cult member. So we're both really eager to make connections and meet people. I still work out of Duluth officially, but I'm here. I have business cards and happy to talk environmental policy with any of you. But I think that's pretty much all I want to cover overall. You ready?
What's up?
Okay.
I didn't realize we were focused on today's meeting. I'm Sally Rochenfels, and I don't have nearly the history that my husband does. I got up here with my husband 32 years ago. Our first year of marriage, we lived in Conan Street, rented a little house, and the owner had just bought that house for $15,000, and I can't tell you how many times I kicked myself that we didn't buy a house when we were here 32 years ago. I'm a graphic designer. I had nothing to do with Andrew's world really, except we overlap on once the projects I'll describe in a moment. I've been designing for 35 years maybe, so my day is in front of a computer all day, creating both digital and print projects. And I've been working for myself for 25 years, so it was very easy for me to come up here and work in a little office in the woods. Easy from a practical standpoint. It's been more challenging. Internet has really been a challenge for us, so I think we've finally figured something out. And also, I'm really struggling with being in the woods alone. And this is good for me. I come from a city and people around and creative and collaborative teams, so I'm trying to figure out what it's like to not be able to wave hi to a neighbor, or how to make that connection, and realizing it's an interesting move when you're you no longer have kids in school, so you don't meet other parents with kids your age. That's been a big thing for us, meeting people, and you don't have colleagues at work, so or you're not going to a work environment. So it's very interesting, and it's kind of a challenge.
You come to Tuesday group, that's all.
Yeah. So that's the challenge I think that I have. The way our lives overlap is Andrew and I have researched, written, designed, and published 3 guidebooks now: hiking the North Shore, camping the North Shore, and skiing the North Shore. And they've been really wonderful little surprise niche marketing publishing efforts of ours. I have a background, I worked for a publisher for many years, designing books. So we continue to update, and we're on second editions of all the books now. We've printed thousands and thousands of copies, and it's a fun little way that our lives have overlapped. Andrew generally researches the trails, does the first draft. Yeah, and he gets the fun party, so hiking trails, skiing trails, and he brings all that junk to me, and I mold it and shape it and create maps and edit books and put them together and market and sell them, and it's done a fun little business for us. So that's a way our partnerships are diverse. Career needs to overlap.
Interesting. Are they for sales or?
Oh yeah, I don't know if they're I think. Yeah, they're very more obvious North Shore based.
Yeah.
So the cities is a big market for us, and to live in the North Shore. Yeah, the state parks usually carry that.
What do y'all do for fun?
Ron, you got a question? Or are you calling the
I'm
waiter?
just going to assure them that Elyism is a cult. It's one of the nicest ones in the world.
Yeah. Well, when we got married, before we got married, Andrew's woman and colleagues and cohorts really quizzed him hard on why he was marrying someone outside of Bridgewater. True story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
This morning I just met Paul Zollinger, who is new to Ely and is new on the staff at the Wolf Center. Paul Zollinger with a Z.
Well, it won't give you too hard of a time. It's Zollinger, but everybody's mispronounced it my entire life. As my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents, it just kind of happens, and that's okay. I knew when it was the end of my high school graduation because I was the last one to graduate. We're getting up to leave. My name is Paul Zollinger. I'm from Sterling, Illinois, originally. And so I came from Sterling. I came up to Ely actually for the first time as an 8-year-old. My dad and my grandfather brought me up here with my younger brother, who is actually finding out where he's going to get married here in May. So I'm going to be at his wedding. So I'm very excited for him. But we came up when I was 8, he was 6, and I kind of loved the place. And we came back again when I was in my early teens. And then I didn't think I'd probably ever be back in Ely because my life took me all over the place. My undergrad background is actually in fine arts, in photography and design. And I traveled around all the country doing a lot of different things. I was a guide in New Mexico. I did dive work and other work in the Florida Keys for a stint. And then I was a winter guide actually for the Scout base up here in the winter of 2019. So that was my first time back in Ely. And then kind of the world shut down and I came back in 20 in the summertime and then traveled around a little bit more. And then in the fall of 2021, I moved to Idaho. I got my master's in 10.5 months through the University of Idaho in natural resources with a focus of environmental education and science communication, because those of us who know scientists, and myself included, we're not always good at communicating things in simple terms that the average individual can understand, which is sometimes important when we want the average individual to be able to help us pass public policy or anything like that in general. I didn't think I'd come back to Ely, and lo and behold, here I am. And I'm now a full-time educator with the International Wolf Center. A lot of what I do now is we're very fortunate to have been able to make our online digital programs free for schools all over the world. So we can have outreach programs for schools for free now. And we recently started doing outreach programs to schools in the Arrowhead region for the first time. And those are also free for schools right now. So that's been really awesome to get to do that. I definitely felt welcome coming back to Ely. I felt comfortable in Ely being up here seasonally, so I was excited to get to come back. And lots of exciting things now with what I'm doing. We're actually going to be doing a new Arctic Wolves focused program starting this next weekend, actually. So if you're looking for something new to do this spring, you can come see that new program that we have in the afternoons at the center when we're open. I spent a lot of free time cross-country skiing and tying fishing flies because I like to fly fish. And lots of reading, lots of books. A little too many books, but that's okay. I have this dream of having Jenna Pepper, so it's all right. But yeah, that's kind of where I am from. That's where I am now, and so I got lots of things to do that are going to be exciting. So I'm sure I'll see several of you around. Yeah.
Have you been to Chapman Street Books yet?
Have Chapman Street Books, mean Prairie Fire Books?
Yes.
Yes, I have been there. I actually had a great experience there last summer. I don't know if anybody in this room is familiar with the Foxfire series of books at all. But if you are, you know how hard it is to find original prints of that book. And I was very fortunate. They had the first 3 in the 12-book series at that bookstore in different areas, and I found them all. So I bought them, and now I have close to a complete collection because those are very cool books. They have not really reprinted them in a long time. So it's very cool to have those. Wow. But yeah, does anybody else has questions?
Look for him at the Wolf Center.
Yeah, you can look for me at the Wolf Center or around town. But nice to be here.
Thank you. Ken and Joanne Earl. To me, they're kind of exotic because I first met them at Hidden Valley years ago and found out they had a sailboat and they were out seeing the world on their sailboat. Well, they've sold the sailboat, I understand, and now they're more around here. Ken and Joanne Earl.
I'll let Joanne talk about the sales experience. I started coming up here probably in the mid-1970s. I put 30 years in with Bird's Eye Frozen Foods, General Foods Corporation, and been around, elevated here and there around from New York, 2 times in New York, and once in Waseca, where we reside now. But 23 years ago, I bought a yurt 35 miles south of Ely on Stony Lake. And we were there on and off 12 months a year, easy. Trekking in or canoeing in from the other way. It got destroyed in the Greenwood fire a year and a half ago, totally 1000%. destroyed. So we're gonna put up a tent. And we're gonna put up a couple of sheds to hold what we need. We're gonna miss that year very, very much. After that, I bought a cabin. Oh, I bought a cabin on Sunset 4 years ago. And so it's very close to Bull Shirky's dog sled business. And so we enjoy that fully. We're up here 12 months a year, 7 to 10 days usually. And then deer hunting, a little extended more than that. We deer hunt quite a bit down by the area. After that, I started, Bird's Eye has been very good to me, so I wanted to volunteer my services abroad. And I got hooked in with ACD, IVOCA, and International Executive Society. And I did 15 years from South America all the way to Siberia. And each project was from 30 days to 45 days. And so I got to know the politicians a little bit. I got to know my hosts. I always had an interpreter. Most of my interpreters were younger kids that did work in the United States. Slow me down, I want you went in and talk to. So, and then in Moscow, in Siberia, my interpreter happened to be an English teacher. And I taught a little bit on the master's degree. Four kids had one book. And I'm talking 1993 in South America, right on through 15 years. And then I bought a veterinary supply business. My degree is in animal husbandry, and I worked and managed the farm for a while. And then after Bird's Eye, I enjoyed my veterinary supply business. Go ahead.
I'm Joanne. I guess I'm in Ely because Ken brought me here. He's the adventure. I totally is the adventure, and I love the fact that he's always willing to go places and do something different, and it's, you know, he wants to be challenged. So I willingly go with him. So we've come up here because he came up here after he was finished with the corn pack at Waseca, and he needed downtime. He would bring his canoe up here and go by himself into the boundary waters for weeks, and he loved it. So he brought me up here, and I love it. So our first experience, of course, with deer, and now we're happy to be closer into the community and hoping that we can get to know people more readily. I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse and retired, of course. So that was my vocation, and I loved every minute of it. I was a hospice nurse at the very end of my career. The last 6-8 years was with hospice, and I loved it. But now that we were able to travel after I retired, and he was already retired, we took we had a sailboat purchased in 96, and then in 2001 we took off from Duluth, from the Superior Harbor. Actually, we took off and we sailed through the Great Lakes out to New York, left the boat out there, traveled down the coast, and then our boat remained in Florida. Every year we would put it out of the water, put it to sleep, go home for the summer. My passion is gardening, and I couldn't imagine staying on the boat 12 months out of the year. I needed to go home and garden. So I love gardening and preserving food and all that kind of stuff. So that was, we had this, you know, half a year on the boat, half a year off the boat. And we loved it. We sailed out of Florida and did some cruising to the Bahamas and, we went to Bermuda, wherever. So that was our adventure. And of course, he was always the impetus for those adventures. And I did get to go with him on a few of his trips.
Believe me, she was the admiral. I was the captain.
So the trips that he took overseas when he was volunteering, I was able to go on a few of those. I was still working at the time, and they don't like to give you a lot of time off like that, like a month to go, you need to work. So I was lucky to go with him on a few of his adventures, like Egypt and Moscow. I went there, and Armenia, different places where it was Poland. Yeah. So he's the fellow who has always been the adventurer. And I am just lucky that I can hang on and go along with it. So if I can keep up. So.
Did you sell the sailboat or not?
2 years ago.
Yeah, we did. And actually it was just about the time that COVID was, starting big. So we felt lucky that we were able to do that. It was time, we wanted a different kind of an adventure then. So.
How big was the boat? What size do you have?
30 foot.
Was it 30
It
foot,
was
but
a
it was
30
like
foot, it was a heavy,
heavy weather
you
boat.
cruise in this boat, There
It
was
was
some
a-
40 footers you wouldn't even take offshore.
It was a blue water boat, so it was
Yeah.
meant for offshore
That's the
sailing.
word.
Yes,
Well,
he taught me how to sail.
I guess I taught myself.
Yes, he had a sailboat.
The boat started out in Lake Pepin down by Redway. And then we purposely trucked it up here to get in storms. We purposely trucked it up here to get into storms on Superior. Then we left the next year. So we taught ourselves.
Well, actually, he had a small wooden sailboat that we had at home. Actually just sold it to the, through an auction at the folk school in Grand Ely. That was just
Donated.
Donated. It was a year ago, but that little wooden sailboat had a big gaff rig, and that was the challenge. But that one, that probably was really the teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
How many times do you turtle your sailboat?
Turtle?
They don't turtle.
Never,
Okay.
never.
We have a laser.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Oh, yeah.
we didn't do that. Thank goodness.
You visit with the Starks afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Interesting, the woman older couple, Dale and Doug. Doug is old Ely, and I met Dale at the social. I didn't get to know more people here. I think they got married 3 years ago. And I met the Earls at the Thanksgiving potluck after, most recently. So there's great opportunities to get out and meet each other. Come on up, Dale. Dale Johnson.
Because I had knee surgery, knee replacement a month ago. So, I guess I'm doing pretty good. How I got to Ely, well, I lived in a lot of different places, went to college at Winona State, got my degree there in nursing. Nursing was my field for my whole life. I had 4 children, and my husband got disillusioned about having so many kids and being married, so I raised my 4 children. And part of that was I did some things, extra things. I moved and I traveled and I did this, and I got better jobs because raising kids for yourself, it's expensive. So I ended up teaching in California, I ended up in New York, I ended up a lot of different places across the country. I never thought of coming to Ely, but when I was in, I moved to Hibbing 5 years ago. And I was starting a church in Hibbing, and a friend of mine and I were planting a church there. And one day I took a prayer drive. I used to love to go on places in the country just to pray, talk to God. And so I went I came up to Ely, and it was my first time at Ely. And I went by this house, I was driving around in the country and praying, and went by this house and I saw this guy raking his lawn. That's my husband now. Raking, he has several properties, but this was the one, this had 2 houses on it, and he was raking his lawn. I pulled in to ask him a question, and we got to talking, and we kept talking, and we kept talking. So, very long story short, he's the interesting one. I'm really not that interesting, but he's the interesting. He grew up in Ely. He started doing guiding when he was 10 years old. His mom and dad owned a resort. He's owned resorts and houses and places, and but he was a guide all of his life, hunting and fishing guide in Ely. So anyway, so I thought he was really interesting, and he thought I was kind of interesting. So we started meeting. We were studying the Bible together, and then a very long story short, one day was it here in Ely Lodge? Yeah, it was here in Grand Ely Lodge. We were having lunch, and he reached across the table and he's kind of handsome. We've been in Bible study together about 7 months. And he said, "I really care about you." And I said, "Oh no, this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing." Because, you know, the idea of teaching someone the Bible is not to get them in love with you. But that's what happened. So long story short, he joined me in living for God, and I joined him in hunting and fishing, and it's been a wonderful time. It's been a wonderful ride. Did you want to say something?
Any corrections? Where was your resort? Fall Lake Resort. My parents own Fall Lake Resort. Fall Lake Resort.
Yeah.
It's not part of a college system.
College runs programs.
That was
The Vermilion Outdoor.
yeah. And I had my own resort on Farm Lake. I ran the Fall Lake Federal Campground for many years for federal government. And then I guided for a zillion years. I did my guiding for over 4,000 days guiding, so that was enough of that. So, yeah.
Who's the favorite person that you guide? You know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Oh, you?
Yeah.
Al Capone,
I'll agree with that.
Ted Williams. Who's the most famous person you guided? Ted Williams?
No, I was making a joke.
She was making a
I was
joke.
trying to get him to
Oh.
say me, but I said favorite, but who was the most famous person you guided?
I don't, I got a lot of head of corporations, 3M, IBM, but John Deere, all that stuff, but I don't think I guided any movie stars at that time. I don't remember, there's a lot of trips, but I don't remember.
As long as they caught fish.
So, Emily and I went to see the Addams Family at the high school. How many of you went to see the Addams Family? And I couldn't believe it. I know a lot of the kids, you know, the ski team and so on. I look at the program and there's 4 kids with the same last name, a name I've never heard before. Writings, Chantel, Chambrill, Jackson, Chloe, is that what you say? Yeah. Anyway, Chambrill played Wednesday, if you remember. And then we read in the paper that she's won this prestigious trial thing to be going off and playing her clarinet at places. I take a little pride in that when I found out that Rusty was ready to give up his small clarinet. I talked to Carl Kubiak, the high school new band director, and they connected them to, and the result is that Jamriel bought Rusty's wonderful clarinet, and she's a wonderful clarinetist. Her mother, I met her dad at the Forest Service open house, Bobby, and not sure if he's gonna make it. We'll see. Yeah. And mom, Jackie, has a meeting in Virginia this morning, and she's gonna slip out early and make it back. Oh, goody. Well, you wanna come up and start?
Let's wait. We've got time, right?
Let's wait.
Well, if
Shem
her mom's
Brown's
on
gonna-
the way, right?
Chamberlain's got a lot to say. A senior at Ely High School, we're privileged that she could take an hour from school and be with us.
I moved here roughly around August and July, August of last year. I have 4 younger siblings, Jackson, Chantel, Chloe. We all go to school here. The first time I lived in Ely I was in 5th grade and so we moved up here due to my dad's military stuff, and I decided I wanted to learn something new, so I noticed that there was band auditions. So I went in to try out different instruments and stuff, and Miss Mason, the old band director, she pointed me towards the clarinet, and I picked that up. A couple months later, we moved down to Rollo, Missouri, which is close to Fort Leonard Wood, where my dad was working, and he was about to retire. And down there, they didn't start band till 7th grade, so I had to wait a year or 2 to start band up again. And down there, the band's so big to the point you have to audition to get into it. So I showed up in 7th grade to try out for band, and they were like, "Why do you have your own clarinet?" I'm like, "Why not?" Because I started somewhere else, and I got into the band, and then 7th grade, I made first chair districts for Missouri. 8th grade, I made third chair districts. 9th grade, I made second chair districts, and then 10th grade, I actually made state down in Missouri for clarinet, but I didn't get to participate due to moving up here. So when I moved back up here, I was reunited with Miss Mason, the old band director, and she was like, "Hey, we also have state up here and different things to get involved with." So I tried out for state, and roughly around, I want to say April is when I tried it out. And then after I tried out, I waited till June to find out that I made it in. And right after I found out I made it into state band, I got a letter in the mail stating that I qualified to try out for this thing called the Honors Performance Series. And that program, only 500 kids make it, and thousands all over the world audition for that. So I talked to Miss Mason about it. She's like, "Yeah, might as well try it out. It doesn't hurt, right?" So I want to say I sent in my recording of me playing the clarinet 2 weeks after I got the letter, and I waited from July 5th all the way to October 28th to find out if I made it or not. So on October 28th, I was at dress rehearsal for the Wasabi Orchestra, because I'm in that also. And I got an email stating that they were still trying to figure out who all got in. And so me and my mom were like, "Okay, we'll just wait, see what happens." And then 4 hours later, at the end of dress rehearsal, my mom calls me. She's like, "You made it, you got into both rounds." And I tried out for both the Carnegie Hall national trip and then the Sydney, Australia international trip. And I got into both of them, which was absolutely crazy. And only 500 kids make each round, and roughly 10,000 audition for each trip. So I couldn't believe it. So it still hasn't hit me yet. So when I go to Carnegie Hall, I'll be from February 1st to February 5th. And my 18th birthday is February 4th, and that's the day we'll be performing. So I'm super excited about that. And then the Sydney, Australia trip, that will be July 31st to August 6th. And yeah, I plan to pursue music as a career. I've been accepted into a couple colleges, but I think I'm going to go to Concordia College over in Moorhead for music performance and business. So that's what I think I'm going to be doing. I made it into the Duluth honors band and the Bemidji honors band, and I'm first chair clarinet for the Duluth ones, the part that I know. Out of 36 clarinets, I plan to be doing some solos and ensembles competitions sometime this year. And what else is going on? Oh, so the Memorial High School had a Christmas concert scheduled, but it got canceled due to the weather. And that's rescheduled for January 12th at 7 p.m. at the Ely Memorial Auditorium, if you're interested. And then the Masabi Orchestra will be having a concert on March 5th up here in Ely at the Memorial Auditorium from 2:30 to 4, if you're also interested in that. So,
Yeah, high school band concert, all day concert, every day's Christmas, is the week from Thursday. Because it was canceled because of the big blizzard.
yeah.
Week from Thursday at the school at 7. It's really worth going to. So we read in the paper that you could use some help in the travel and housing expenses of these two things. How does that, where are you on that now?
So far we have the Carnegie Hall trip paid for. I'm so thankful for the town of Ely. It's been super helpful, and I love how everyone's came together to help me. And even with other people I've noticed, it's just such a hopeful community, and everyone's just, it's very lovely. So we have the trip to Carnegie Hall paid for, and yes.
Come on in, join us.
Hi. I thought it started at 5. I thought this started at 12:45. I just came from Virginia. I would rage mental health, so I was in meetings the whole morning. So, you started. Let's see here. Okay, so hall is paid for, and we took care of all of that. Now we're working on Australia. For her to fly to Australia is $2,500. I mean, it's a big flight. It's 2 days, and it doesn't matter if you go up to Canada and then over to Vancouver or LAX. It's a big flight. And then the performance series for that one is $2,750. So for her to go initially is put them two numbers together. So then we were looking at it, and I said, "You're gonna be jet lagged." She's like, "What?" And I said, "You might want to be there like 2 or 3 days in advance." So she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Because you're not gonna be able to fly in, perform, and then leave." And she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah." So, higher. Anyways, so long story short, so I have to do some investigating on that due to the fact that just the initial cost for her is basically $5,000. So, and then when she gets back, she'll be back on August 6th because she leaves the 30th. The time frame is July 31st to August 5th. But then when you put travel in there, it takes 24 to 48 hours, that kind of thing. So I'm initially looking at the end of like the 28th of July to the 7th of August timeframe. And then 2 weeks later, she's in college. Yeah. So it's been a whirlwind, and it all started with a recording on a cell phone that Miss Mason sent to the state of Minnesota. You know, and it initially started in 5th grade here in Ely, Miss Mason being first-year teacher, and encouraged her with the clarinet because that's her instrument, right? So, and like I was telling her last night, if you take the milestones and the diversity of the military lifestyle that we've had, and all of the moves and all of the peoples and all the influences, and I'm from an itty bitty town called Ebro, Minnesota, which is the wider Indian reservation. My stepdad's from Virginia, so, and then Cook in this area. So, it's kind of weird. I just wanted to clear guinea pigs. That's all I want. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a little surreal.
a lot of people was like, you know, she's a star, and I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? So on that, so we're working on that, and that's a goal. And like I told her, I said, before we get there, we'll get there.
Before we move on, so if somebody like in this group wanted to contribute towards Chambrilla making it to Australia,
There's a savings account set up at Preston Bank, right in here in town. You just walk in and drop it off, or you can send it to the school, and Holly will give it to her. And
and
then,
the check should be made out to,
It should be made out to me, and then I'm sending it to the World Series. Chambrio Writings, which is
higher performance, yeah.
How do you spell your name?
CHAMBERIEL, and then Writings is RIDINGS.
wow.
Yeah.
So I think you can sit down.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Now we need to hear from Jackie Ridings.
Oh, yeah, that's what I do. I know.
Where'd you come? I mean, how'd you get from there to there to here?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Tell us about yourself.
My story? Parents, my mom is originally from Boston, Duluth, Boston. My grandfather was military. Yeah, so they bought the farm from my great grandfather and moved from Duluth back to Boston area. My dad's from Ebro. And bada bing, bada boom, they got married in 71, had me in 75, and then divorced in 77. Yeah, well, it's two different worlds. Trust me on this one. My mom is second year generation Scandinavian descent, and my dad's Native American. Two different worlds. Anyways, so I kind of grew up with, honestly, the foundation of mental illness when you get into the outlook of what actually truly happens in the reservation house and the alcohol and the whole 9 yards, right? We're just gonna paint that picture. So then we moved to the cities because my mom had an opportunity when I was 15. And met my husband when I was 15. He was 18. He went in the military at 22. I went to school. I got a degree in psychology and behavioral community health. And
From where?
jury out of Springfield, Missouri. It's a Christian private school. And I also have an education degree. I can teach 1 through 6. So I am a firm believer of knowing, I originally wanted to be a teacher, a lawyer, and then a teacher. But I'm a firm believer that you had to know the behaviorals in your classroom. So I was like a triple major. So I did behavioral science, elementary education, psychology, and behavioral and community health. So I have 4 degrees. Because I was very, I didn't want to live that lifestyle. So anyways, I've been working with adolescents with degrees with all of this for many years, and I typically range, and I love middle schoolers. They're so snotty but great at the same time. Everybody's like, why would you work with that age group? I'm like, because they're the best, you know? And they're like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I love it when you can flip them and they get that light. And you're like, you don't have to do this, break the cycle. And my thing is everybody's like, well, how many are in the case? But well, it doesn't matter. If I can get 1 out of 100, that's success.
Yeah.
For me personally, you know.
Right.
So I have a different background, obviously. I'm Native American and I'm Icelandic descent, Norwegian, Swedish. I'm only 4. Did a DNA test, we know. On Ancestry, believe it or not. And when kids look at me and they're like, you don't understand, I'm like, yeah, I do. I get it. But if you pull yourself out of the box and stop driving the bus and own the bus, what can you do? You know, so I'm a mental health practitioner with Range Mental Health. And I work school-based services, and I don't care if it's Range or if it's Pathways or whoever it is. It's for me, it's a job that I will always do, because I enjoy. The harder you are, but it's okay. Eventually that mold will break, and we'll make it happen. Mhm. That's my thing. That's my story.
Is part of your assignment our Ely school?
Yeah, I'm actually currently, so I was a Net Lake cook, which is Northwoods. And I do Vermilion, and I did Tower Elementary all school year last year. That was my caseload. And then, and then this over the summer, I inherited Ely on top of them.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and because Ely was under construction, and because there's rules and regulations, and you can't bring kids from this school to that school, and you know, I got to hang out in the park a lot. You know what I mean? And so they were able to find somebody to take my spot up there, because I had over 100 kids and over 100 clients. So, and that's it's trying. It's a lot. So, but anyways, and I feel dedicated to them. Like, I want to see them. I want to hear how their day is. I mean, I'm excited to go back, because I haven't seen my Vermilion kids charter school in 2 weeks. I want to know what's going on. I'm nosy. Sorry, you know. But no, so now I only do Vermilion charter and all of the Elys. So, and right now I think my case goes like 47-ish, 43, something like that. So.
Bobby
Yes.
is not gonna make it.
No, I just talked to him.
Tell us about him now.
Bobby is originally an only child through adoption, even though he has other siblings. He's originally from Hannibal, Missouri. His parents adopted him in Quincy, Illinois, and they moved to Fridley. And that's where I met him. He was 18, he graduated out of Coon Rapids. Yeah, a lot of movement. Yeah. He went into the Air Force, and he did Air Force for active duty for 4 years. Then he did Air National Guard for 6 out of Fort Snelling, 132nd out of St. Paul. And then he got out, and then 2 weeks later, 9/11 happened. Boom. And then he went right back in. So, and then with the diversity of his age, he was 32 at the time. He didn't want, and he knew that they were pulling from the Guard to go back in because of the deployments and everything. So in order to stop that deployment and go full active, he went active Army. So the joke is how many are we going to hit in a lifetime? You know, we've done Air Force, Air National Guard, and now Army. So he retired out of military in 2016, March of 2016. We were in here because we were transitioning from Germany, and that's why we came to Ely, because my mom lived on Washington Street at the time. And hence how this started with her in 5th grade in Ely, because of Virginia. Makes sense. It's full circle. It does make sense. Because people don't realize it takes 3 to 6 months to get your car off of a boat. It really does. So when you have a family of 4 kids at home, you know, you do what you gotta do. Anyways, so he is retired military. He went back to school, got a bachelor's degree in history, but refuses to be a history teacher. Enjoys being a para. But then, so long story short, he retired. I want to go home. I'm done with the molding. I'm done. And he made a deal. He's like, if you get a job, I'll all right. Well, I got a job as a para. So he's like, seriously? I'm like, let's go. That was the bottom line. Anyways, that only lasted a month. And then I went back to Range. I went back to what I liked to do. So, and he likes it up here. He's getting used to it.
He's in the Forest Service.
Yes. Yeah, he started the Forest Service in August. He thought last winter was extremely crucial and hard. And I went, dude, it's really mild, it was not bad. And he's like, why would you want to endure this? I said, because I love this snow. And I do, I like snowmobiling, I like all 4 seasons, that's my problem. Anyways, so now he works at the Forest Service, you met him at the open house. Yeah, and he's content with just being him. And so he hangs out now with Jackson, our youngest, 2nd year hockey, does all the practices. I do the games on the weekends, concessions, football, band, we do science fair. Chloe was just in the science fair and she got 1st place in her grade. Yeah, she made energy out of potatoes. It was pretty cool.
She made a light glow.
Yeah, like glow. She was able to make a generalized solar power out of potatoes. And she's only in 10th grade. It was so weird. I'm like, said the science kid. But anyways, Chantel is in 7th grade or 8th grade, I'm sorry. She's in excelled reading and gifted math with Miss Molly. So I mean, they all have their own niche. And Bobby's getting used to the snow.
Wow. We're very honored to welcome the Writings family. Big addition. We're done anyway. Big addition to Ely. Thank you so much. Glad you made it back safely from Virginia.
Yeah. I knew I'd make it.
Thanks. The next one of these is March 14th.